people to the church, and they might even be advertising again. There was a time when they were advertising, so we got a little distracted off track here. But getting back to the whole blasphemy law issue, Unitarian Universalists, and before that Unitarians and Universalists, because they were separate sects prior to their merger in 1961, they have a centuries-old tradition of opposing blasphemy laws, largely because they were persecuted and prosecuted under blasphemy laws in the past. Some were even executed for alleged blasphemy or heresy. Some were jailed and so on. So they have this long-held tradition of being great champions of freedom of religion and opposing blasphemy laws. And here they are in the 21st century, as recently as 2012, falsely accusing me of violating Canada's blasphemy law because I posted some blog posts that tell the well-documented truth about such despicable crimes as pedophilia and rape committed by certain Unitarian Universalist ministers, such as Reverend Mac Wallace Mitchell, to name one. But there are others. And then there's Sunday school teachers. For instance, there's Stephen Craig Bullite, who was convicted of raping a teenage boy, and even preteen boy who he adopted. I believe, if I remember the details correctly, that Stephen Craig Bullite, who was a religious educator at a Unitarian Universalist church in Oregon, I believe he actually started raping the boy, or at least sexually abusing him, very soon after he adopted him. And I believe he first adopted him when he was about 11 years old. So this is a preteen boy. I think it'd be fair to describe Stephen Craig Bullite as a pedophile rapist, as I also described Richard Buell as a pedophile rapist. Now, Richard Buell, to the very best of my knowledge, is not actually a Unitarian Universalist minister, but it just shows the sloppiness and incompetence of Maitre Marc-André Coulombe that he would lump Richard Buell in with Unitarian Universalist ministers, because the only person who I had specifically referred to as a pedophile, and more specifically as a pedophile rapist, was Richard Buell. I knew of other cases of pedophilia committed by Unitarian Universalist ministers, but I had not, in 2012, blogged about them at that point. The only Unitarian Universalist who I referred to as a pedophile, indeed a pedophile rapist, on the on the Emerson Avenger blog was Richard Buell, who was a parishioner of Reverend Dr. Victoria Weinstein, also known as Peace Bang. Richard Buell was a parishioner of First Parish, Norwell, and he was charged, tried, and convicted with the forcible rape of preteen girls. The age estimates for the times that the rapes took place were between 9 and 12 years old. That's the most conservative estimate, but some estimates in terms of the news reports say that the rapes may have begun when the victims were as young as 6 years old. But certainly, you know, the victims of Richard Buell were between 9 and 12 years old when they were forcibly raped. One of his victims was a female family member, apparently a granddaughter or grandniece, and also another victim was a neighbor's daughter. So Richard Buell, no question about it, was a pedophile rapist, and I blogged about him. And in order to try to hide this, to keep this, you know, out of the public eye, the Unitarian Universalist Association falsely accused me of the criminal act of blasphemous libel, which, by the way, carries a 2-year jail term if you're convicted. Now that's the maximum, you know, so it could be less than that. But, you know, in theory, if the Unitarian Universalist Association was able to have me charged with blasphemous libel, and if I was actually convicted of blasphemous libel in a court of law, which I can tell you right now is like almost an impossibility, but if that happened, then not only would I be saddled with a criminal record, but I would be liable to spend up to 2 years in jail for this archaic crime. So it just shows how, you know, corrupt and immoral and unethical the top-level leadership of the Unitarian Universalist Association is when it comes to their efforts to keep clergy sexual misconduct hidden and unknown to the public as much as they think they can get away with. So just pure insanity as far as I'm concerned for Reverend Dr. Peter Beyond Belief Morales and Kathleen K. Montgomery, and no doubt other top-level staff and leaders of the Unitarian Universalist Association hiring Stikeman Elliott Barristers and Solicitors, which is a major corporate law firm that has about 500 lawyers across the country, to accuse me of blasphemous libel. So I guess we've covered that subject enough today. The other false accusations that were brought against me in the cease and desist demand letter was an accusation of threatening and defamatory conduct amounting to sexual harassment of female Unitarian Universalist ministers, or women Unitarian Universalist ministers, if I want to more accurately and literally quote the demand letter. That's a very accurate quote, almost word for word quote. So threatening and defamatory conduct amounting to sexual harassment of women Unitarian Universalist ministers. So what was my alleged sexual harassment? Well, one of the alleged acts of sexual harassment was using the colloquialism sucks and blows at the same time to describe the two-faced hypocrisy of one Reverend Dr. Kelly Murphy Mason. This colloquialism is about inhaling and exhaling air. It has zero sexual content. In fact, if you interpret sucks and blows at the same time from the perspective of sucks referring to a sexual act and blows referring to a sexual act, it loses its meaning, because sucks and blows at the same time is all about engaging in two opposite actions at the same time, two, you know, almost impossible to do actions at the same time. Whereas if it was interpreted from the perspective of sexual acts, it would lose that meaning completely. It would be basically doing two exactly the same things at the same time. So it's just totally ludicrous for Stikeman Elliott Barristers and Solicitors acting on behalf of the Unitarian Universalist Association and acting on behalf of Reverend Dr. Kelly Murphy Mason herself to try to pretend that my use of the colloquialism sucks and blows at the same time to describe her sucking and blowing at the same time, i.e. her two-faced hypocrisy in which she contradicted one set of words with a completely opposite set of words in a very short time frame, to try to pretend that this sexual harassment is just foolish. And then it gets even better, or worse, depending on how you want to look at it. Better from the point of absolute hilarity and stupidity and so on, just foolishness on the part of the Unitarian Universalist religious community and Stikeman Elliott Barristers and Solicitors, and indeed Reverend Dr. Victoria Weinstein. The other the other woman Unitarian Universalist minister who, via the Unitarian Universalist Association's mouthpiece, Stikeman Elliott Barristers and Solicitors litigation lawyer, Maitre Marc-Andre Coulombe, also falsely accused me of threatening and defamatory conduct amounting to sexual harassment of her, was Reverend Dr. Victoria Weinstein, also known as Peace Bang. And my alleged sexual harassment against her, indeed threatening and defamatory acts against her, was criticizing her sodomy fantasy. Now, the way the letter was worded, it was almost worded in a way that it would appear that, she never actually even had a sodomy fantasy, that I was falsely accusing her of having a sodomy fantasy. Well, this is absolutely not true. In 2006, if I remember correctly, Reverend Dr. Victoria Weinstein got very upset at Republican State Senator Bill Napoli for statements that he made regarding rape and abortion and so on. Essentially, if I remember correctly, Senator Bill Napoli was opposing abortion. What? It's always a good day. Merci, bonjour. So I got another good day. Getting some friendly responses from the public here, as usual, quite frankly. Anyway, getting back to Reverend Dr. Victoria Weinstein's sodomy fantasy. I'm just going to check the time here, make sure the camera's still running. Yeah, we don't have much time left, so I might have to go in another reel. I just got another smile from a passerby who pointed at the picket signs. But yeah, we're just about out of time here, so I'm going to have to continue this on another segment of video. Just letting the time. Good morning. It's always a good morning when you're accused of blasphemy by Unitarians in the 21st century. It doesn't get better than that. So let's see here. How's the time? Oh yeah, that's it. We're done.